Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast, where we hang out a little bit longer with you. Thank you. If you haven't subscribed, you just tripped across this. Be sure to subscribe for wherever you get your favorite podcast. And if you are listening on the iHeartRadio app, you can also set us as a preset. That makes it very easy to get to, every day. So Jodi does 3 things to know, in the show 3 times a morning.
Every hour.
Yeah. And but sometimes there are stories that don't make it. So this is more things to know, right?
Yeah. You guys ready for the ones that it's not like they're not good enough to make the cutting room floor. I mean, to make the cut, but it's only 3 that can make it.
Yeah.
So I've got lots of stuff.
It's not 4 things to know.
Right. So it's more things to know. Here's one that I thought was so interesting. Murphy, you'll love this story. Empty offices across the country are being, and we know this, but more of them are being converted into apartments all the time.
Yeah.
More work from home, more, whatever. More people are working remotely or whatever.
Yeah, business consolidation. Yeah.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
And that's been a theme, I think, for a couple of years now. In fact, one of our friends or coworkers here lives in her apartment is in one of those converted commercial buildings.
And it's like there's a lot of perks because think of office space. 12-foot ceilings. That's a standard thing.
Yeah.
Industrial strength central air.
Yeah.
Floors so thick you never can hear your neighbors because it was made to be an office, a business. They're typically, I can't speak out of turn here, I don't know for sure, but they're typically cheaper than regular apartments. One thing that's not great about them, unless a developer comes in and just really redoes it, is that sometimes it's like a communal bathroom down the hall.
Yeah, because I'm thinking office doesn't have bathrooms all through it.
Sometimes, offices don't.
We have an empty office here. I think we can turn that into an apartment.
No. Don't you have to rezone and things like that?
Well, if you don't tell anybody, you can.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding.
I wonder how many people have tried to do that.
I didn't think about, there being communal restrooms. Any of the ones that I've ever seen converted like that I'm familiar with, they all have the, just the master bath and suite and all that kind of stuff as usual.
It makes sense, though. It just totally makes sense. If you have the space, it's real estate.
Yeah.
And if more people need places to live, as opposed to places to go to and work, because you can work almost anywhere, depending on what your work is.
So our friend Monique is who I was referencing just a minute ago. I was there helping her set up some of it. She's kind of got a little in-studio setup at home, too. She works in radio, too. And so that's the first time I've been in that building since it converted away from being an office building. And it's wild. I mean, it's extremely well redone. And
it has a cool view, too.
Her view is fantastic. It does have the 12-foot ceilings. It's got the exposed beams. They took out all the drop ceilings and all that kind of stuff. And it has its own bathroom. And it's very cozy. It's smaller, but it doesn't feel cramped because of the tall ceilings. And then the view. She's like on the 20th floor or something like that. And the elevators have been converted also where they do not have buttons. So that's a safety feature. You can't just walk into the building. Well, you can't get into the building if you don't have a key card anyway. But even if you're in the building, you can't access the elevators because it's only done by smartphone. You can't push a button to go anywhere.
That's a security feature that sounds fantastic.
Now, let me ask this. Does she have real walls or cubicles?
Oh, okay.
It's real walls.
In New York City alone, this year, they're planning to convert about 19,000 office spaces into rental units.
Wow.
In New York City alone. Yeah. It's happening all over the place. I just like that story. I think that's smart.
Yeah.
It's happening everywhere.
Well, it's better than an abandoned building,
100%. Yeah. Real estate. All right, moving on. It's not really a new exercise trend, but it's something, in exercise, if you need, I think that's one of the biggest things about it is switch it up. If you've been walking forever, try a bike. Or if you've never done weight training, your body will thank you. Because muscle memory is a real thing and you need to tap into other areas. So if you're looking for something else, it's not new, but it's a newer trend. It's called rucking, a mashup of the word rucksack and exercising, rucking. It is inspired by military training where soldiers go on long hikes carrying heavy stuff in their sacks. And they fill it with rocks or weights and they go for a walk.
Yeah.
And you burn calories, but it's muscle resistance. So you build muscles. And I will say this, ever since I was diagnosed with that bone thing that I have weak bones. One of the things, and I do walk a lot, I'm supposed to look into getting a weighted vest to put on my body and walk with it. It just sounds so to me.
Well, a weighted vest or around your waist, you probably have to, depending on, like, if you have neck situations or shoulder issues or whatever, carrying a backpack of rocks is probably not a great idea.
Sure.
But you
So
can
the
alter
weighted
that.
vest.
A weighted vest or something that does add
It
the
sits
extra
on your
resistance.
body.
Yeah.
I have a friend who has one.
Yeah.
And for walking, but she bought it and thought it was like a 6-pound, and it's a 12-pound. So she's like, whoa.
You know, the thing about resistance training, because some of the exercises that I do with the trainer that I work out with, you know, the cable, I don't ever remember the names of all the machines like I'm supposed to, but the cable machines with the weights on them, that's really what they're designed to be, is they're, you know, weight resistance. You're pulling against those things. You know, I guess bench pressing and stuff like that technically is resistance too, but there's so many different things that you can do where muscle tone, it's that muscle memory thing, like you say, Jodi, which I never thought about that, but our muscles are much like our brains. Once they get into a routine of something, it's not a challenge anymore. Well, you don't build muscle if you don't break down muscle and then let it rebuild, right?
So
your body,
cross-training.
Yeah, and it's the same reason that you can create bad posture habits and all that. That's all of that is muscle. It's muscle memory.
That's why you never say, well, this is all I do. I only walk or I only run, because you can do that for the rest of your life.
It's
but
better than doing
if you want
nothing,
to
yeah.
challenge yourself and you want your body to change, you have to cross-train. So it's always a new day. You always should try other things.
Yeah.
The restaurant guy, Guy Fieri, he recently lost 30 pounds rucking.
Oh.
Just walking, hiking with heavy stuff.
And if you want to do
on
it
his body.
like a real military person, you wear the combat boots while you do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you do that to protect your feet, too.
Yeah.
Hiking boots are legit.
So he's actually going up hills then with all that stuff on his backpack,
Yeah,
I
like
guess,
military.
Right? Yeah. Wow.
It's not new, but
Interesting.
I'm just saying people are talking about it again. It's new again. It's trending.
I'd be curious to try that, because I'd be willing to do that whenever we go walk the dogs or whatever. You know, to put on a weighted vest. I mean, I'm walking with that or whatever it is that I would put on for 20 minutes is better than just me going and walking, right?
It's true. It's always good to go walk, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's why I'm thinking about getting it. It's that the weighted vest is definitely a
You get
thing
you
in
one of
women's
those
fitness.
those insulated cooler backpacks. You could fill it with water, adds the weight, and you got something to drink.
Okay.
That's not a bad. So it gets easier the farther you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Until
the longer you walk.
Right. Until you have to go to the bathroom, then you're running back home.
Okay.
You could do. They make the
wrist
weights. Weights, right? Exactly, and ankle weights and that sort of thing too. So I guess you could combine and try some of
You
those.
can. I think there's something about the vest keeping it closer to your core is better for the overall calorie burn than it being on your extremities.
That makes sense.
And you got to be careful of joints for that.
Right.
If you have, you know what I mean?
Right.
Where the weight is, just like when you weight train, how your form matters a lot.
Yeah.
It is very specific. All right, moving on. Another story after we've been rucking for a while. These $3 million Super Bowl private boxes are almost sold out by the time I'm sharing this with you.
$3 million?
Yeah, there's some private suites that are very, very expensive. The one you see Taylor Swift in, that's not a gimme suite, and it's not a $10,000 suite.
Oh.
It's millions of dollars. And this is true for any big game, any Super Bowl. Apparently they have, and they have some that are, well, $500,000 all the way to $2.7 million. That's why I say $3 million. It's got catering included, booze, of course, your own private staff.
Mm-hmm.
And usually the tenants of those are, elite.
It's because
superstars.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking
millionaires.
about whatever, the Super Bowl is an international event. So you have everybody coming from everywhere into one building that normally just accommodates one community, right? So that makes sense to me.
The private
supply and demand.
And if you want to do some math, you don't have to do the math because they're all different. They don't all have the exact same price tag, but the stadium has 165 newly renovated private boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. I mean, that's stadium business. You have to invest in it. You know, it's all very expensive, but you have to, if you're going to host a Super Bowl, you have to be able to host the high rollers, if you will.
And the Superdome added those floor suites, too, like at the back of the end zone.
I didn't realize that.
So I don't know if they're going to have those for the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Maybe for security reasons they don't.
Well, you have an in. Miss Jodi works at the Superdome, does she not?
She's an usher at a section. She doesn't work the door, so it's not like I can walk up and say, psst.
Well, I'm just saying you could ask her about the sweets.
Can you get me in to see Taylor Swift? Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Come on, darling.
All right, moving on. Another story from more things to know this week, and not just 3 things. There's a doctor, and of course he was, viral and on TikTok, but he's saying that he has a procedure that can change the color of your eye forever.
Ooh.
Instead of you having to do contacts. But yeah, what do you think it involves? An
Pain?
Injection of pigment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so if you want blue eyes and you never had them, apparently it's the future of cosmetic surgery.
It's not going to cause you to see blue everything, huh?
I don't know anything about that.
I guess it's probably very targeted.
Yeah.
This is him, and he said he's an ophthalmologist, and he said he's been working on this for a long time, and he feels like he's going to be able to do it. It's a new cosmetic surgery that he plans to offer, but the injection goes in your eyeball. The American Academy of Ophthalmology has warned that trying to permanently change your eye color could also permanently damage your vision.
Yeah.
So be careful. Just be careful about trends in medicine.
Yeah, I don't know enough of the biology of it, but if you're targeting the iris, how do you not affect the cornea, which is what would then, because what goes across your pupil is what you're going to see.
All these doctor terms here.
I don't know.
At what point do you just say, my eyes are this color, I'm fine with it? The more natural you roll, the more comfortable you are.
Yeah. Well, and some people are more comfortable making those changes, and so if somebody's willing to pay for it,
it's your eye the beholder. Huh.
Yeah.
You got hazel eyes. Those things change color all the time.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're wearing.
I always thought that was kind of crazy. Yeah.
Do mine change color like that? Because mine are hazel, but they don't change color.
I don't know that they change color. No. Yeah. There's a lot to them. The hazel eye thing is you could look into hazel eyes for a long time, and there's a lot to see there.
Yeah. So Jodi's eyes are blue. Both of our daughters, Taylor and Phoebe, their eyes are blue. Neither of them got hazel eyes from me.
They're happy about that.
Oh, I know. I love the blue eyes.
They like
They're
their
striking.
Eyes.
They're beautiful.
They even told me that.
Blue eyes really pop.
And I have my mom's eyes. Okay, moving on. You guys done with the eye color thing?
Your mom's eyes are blue?
Very.
Okay. I guess I haven't noticed that.
It's okay.
Insert joke here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had this conversation the other day. You were there because Taylor and Phoebe were talking about, and this is the only part that
facial features.
Well, who they look like. They look like both of us.
Yeah.
And they both, at different times in their lives, Phoebe, when she was little, Taylor recently said to me that they wish they had gotten my hair color and my coloring, meaning red. But red's rare. It's a weird little gene mutation, and it's a recessive gene.
Doesn't red jump over a generation?
It supposedly skips generations. So I'm like, maybe your kids will. And she's like, great. Phoebe said that to me when she was a little girl, which really bothered me because she's like, I wish I had red hair like you. And then Taylor recently the other day.
Yeah.
But she dyes her hair red.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. So, there are some generations it hasn't because
hasn't.
That I can think of people that you and I know.
Like, where it doesn't skip?
Yeah, so like Emma, who went to school with Taylor and Phoebe, isn't her dad a redhead?
Yes, that means that dad and mom both had the recessive gene.
Okay.
I'm speaking like a scientist. I think.
Okay.
I think that's what it means.
Okay.
One time, a long time ago, way before there was a Murphy in my life, I dated for a short period of time a redheaded guy.
Yeah.
Short. Like we dated for like 2 weeks. And it was because the joke was all my friends were like, here's your shot at having redheaded kids. But I wasn't, I was so young, I wasn't thinking about that at all.
Sure, right.
And I didn't gel with him as much.
Did they call you Raggedy Ann and Andy?
No, we hung out for 2 weeks. They didn't call us anything.
No.
There wasn't enough time to.
Yes.
Yeah,
no,
right.
I kind of broke that off. He was a very sweet person.
Yeah.
And he and I would have had redhead. Like when I tell you his skin tone was exactly like mine, he had some freckling.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, moving on. There was a Van Gogh painting bought at a garage sale for $50. Which would you pay $50 for something at a garage sale?
Probably not.
Depends.
Anyway, it's a painting of a fisherman. It's believed to be from 1889. It was sold at a garage sale in Minneapolis. And $50 for it. a bunch of New York art people think it could be worth $15 million if it's authenticated by the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. These stories.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
Can you believe that? And can you believe by the time the person who sold that hears that story?
Yeah.
Yeah, $50.
Yeah.
You thought you were doing well at a garage sale to sell something for $50.
Those things, I understand how through history something like that could wind up in Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. But it's like, of all the hands it's passed through, no one ever
how many
this
people?
Could be.
Well, I think about like estate sales, or when my parents passed. Sometimes you just grab things, or you're trying to move things out. You don't even think you're pitching and moving. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so I bet you a lot of those things just wind up accidentally slipping through hands for that reason.
Think about the amount of people who actually know what art is worth.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody in my life, and that's not to put down on my life and my circle of friends, but none of us know much about the art world.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, there are a couple of pieces of art that we got.
This ought to be good.
No, I'm just, and I can't remember the name of it. It's hanging in our bedroom. You actually liked it. And I saved it from my parents' house, but it's a print from the 1920s.
Yeah.
And I forget what it's called.
The semi-naked lady.
Yeah, she's kind of like burlesque or something like that. And
I love that picture.
But it was a famous, painter photo. It's not worth, I think they're on eBay they're selling them for $50, maybe $75 or something like that.
I didn't know that. You didn't tell me you looked that up.
Well,
Cool.
I happened to look it up because I was trying to scan. I used the picture scan to find out, okay, who did this? You know what I mean? So thanks to Google Lens, that makes that easy.
That's cool.
And so I was able to find it that way. But I say that to say that came from my grandmother's house. But my parents were very much. They were not artsy types at all. We didn't expect to find anything. I'm not saying my parents were cheap. They just didn't. That was not their thing. It's they worked
hard. My parents
hard
had trouble making the electric bill.
So most of our prints and photos that were framed things other than family photos, any framed artwork, it was weird. Every now and then you would see it on TV shows too. It's like, oh wow,
mass produced.
They bought this at Globe, and it showed up on this. And
mass produced.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The mass
starving
artist.
artist.
The one, the picture of the store. Have you ever seen the one of the horses with the thunderstorm approaching? You've
Probably.
I'm sure you have. Honestly, I saw that in at least two different TV shows.
Oh, good for you.
We'd get excited as kids.
Look, Mama, we got a famous painting here.
Right. It's on the Love Boat.
Actually, the more it's around, the less famous it is, right?
Yeah.
All right. And finally, I love this one I want to share. This is so funny. Woman who traveled just a little ways to clean out her late great-grandmother's house discovered, speaking of getting into your parents' houses and your family's houses, more than 1,100 sets of salt and pepper shakers.
Sets?
It's sets.
Yeah, no,
salt
I'm
and
saying
pepper shakers.
that means 2,200 bottles?
Yes.
Wow. That's a lot.
Quick math there,
Yeah,
huh?
it is.
Very
I can
good.
do the simple stuff.
Her grand's collection started when she inherited a small collection. And then she decided, I like this. I like having salt and pepper shakers. It's funny because I kind of do.
Yeah, well, you can see how that could be a collectible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That's all matchbooks.
Anyway, yeah. So she started not really buying them new. She would get them at yard sales and garage sales and estate sales and flea markets if she liked them. And now she literally has 1,100 sets of them.
What do you do with that?
The family says they're going to keep the sentimental ones, keep the ones that they want. The rest they're going to sell to collectors because apparently there's a lot of people who collect them.
Yeah.
And what's so funny about, I don't really collect them. I have Christmas salt and pepper shakers mostly. I love salt and pepper shakers. They're cute because they're pretty and functional.
Yeah.
You can use them if you want to. And I have 5 or 6 sets of Christmas ones, and then I have the lemon salt and pepper shakers that Sam gave me one year.
Yeah.
I don't remember why you were making fun of me about a lemon.
I don't remember. You had made some statement about lemons, I think.
Well, it was the year that our boss brought lemons in a bag from his yard. He had like a Meyer lemon tree, and I was so excited about having them. I was putting them in my tea and my water, and I was like, this is a great Christmas present. Thank you for giving this. And you were like, stupid lemons. Let me give her some lemons.
That's fun. The other collectible, and I never did this collectible, but I just, for whatever reason, when you said that just now, going to yard sales, made me think about ashtrays, which are, I mean, I guess they're still sold, made, or whatever.
Of course they are.
But I do know that I knew people that collected, glass decorative versions of those kind of things.
I know the names of some of them because my grandmother.
Really?
She goes, yeah, that's a Hull ashtray, honey. And I was
what?
like, what's that? Hull?
Oh,
Hull?
I thought you said something different.
Dude, like it's time to get out of here fast.
Yeah, that's a whole ashtray.
Yeah. So the ashtray.
I feel like it's Hull.
Yeah. So, and then I guess that makes sense to me. But I think back to, because that was a habit that I had for a little while. I haven't smoked in 26 years now. But I went to a garage sale once, and this is my logic at this time. I can't even believe I'm admitting this. But there was this huge, very deep, heavy glass ashtray with this really pretty etching, in the middle of it. And it was a reasonable price. I mean, it was like $5 or something like that.
You bought it?
And the reason I bought it, this is the logic that's flawed.
Oh, God.
The reason that I bought it is because if it were that big and that deep, I wouldn't have to empty it as often.
That's gross.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting.
That's smart thinking there.
Yeah, no, and it did, and gross is the right word. And when I finally came to my senses on that, it's like, okay, yeah.
And what's ironic is that the ashtray is beautiful.
Oh yeah, I know.
Like, here's something to put this out in. This nasty. It's
well, I mean, when you think about it, at the peak of smoking, I guess in the 1960s, it was like 55% or 60% of Americans were smoking or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it was a thing, right? I mean, you were probably gonna if you went to a party and you didn't put your ashtrays out, but people were smoking inside too, then, which is weird. But the
irony of it being pretty.
Yeah, it's really. Yeah,
I mean, I like things being pretty when they can be, but
things are things. But anyway, I flashed back to that one, and it really was a pretty decorative piece. Mm-hmm. It would have actually looked better without cigarettes in it.
100%.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi podcast.